If you have tried everything to get out of chronic pain, you've been stretching and resting, and you've tried pushing through, and you've tried buying every gadget and every pillow, and you've sought out every specialist you can think of, even the one your neighbor's cousin's sister recommended, and pain is still taking up a bigger part of your life than it deserves. I know from personal experience and also professional experience that you may be feeling frustrated and bewildered and broken. But for now, take a deep breath because I have some really important information for you. Information that will open up a plethora of opportunities for actually finding healing. Information that could change everything from here on out. Welcome to the Somatic Strength Collective. I'm your host, Mandy Ryle, certified strength and conditioning specialist, pain care coach, and nervous system educator. This is a dedicated, compassionate space for midlife women who can hold up the sky, but feel like their bodies are falling apart. Together, we bridge clinical pain neuroscience, somatic movement education, and bone-building strength. Chronic pain is not your destiny. Let's build a robust, reliable body and replace pain with peace. Let's begin. Okay, so let's get started. By the end of this podcast, my friend, you will have some shiny new levers to pull for overcoming this pain that has persisted way beyond its expiration date. And you will have a solid understanding of why these work when the things that you've been doing have not. So let's start with this. This is the most foundational thing I can teach you. Your body is not broken. It's actually doing something it evolved to do. But like you, your body always gives 110%. So welcome to episode 1 of the Somatic Strength Collective. I'm your host, Mandy Ryle. And if you're a longtime listener from the Yin Yoga podcast days, welcome back to our new home. And if you're finding me for the very first time, I am so glad you're here. So if you've been here for a long time, you know that it's been quite some time since I have published a new episode. And I want to tell those of you who have been waiting for the podcast to come back for like 2.5 years that initially when I stopped the Yin Yoga podcast, my intent was to rebrand right away. I started making episodes and then I just kind of lost steam and I didn't have the solid direction that I feel like I have now. And so that's why I'm back and I'm super excited, actually really excited to be back with you. So you've just stepped into a space now designed specifically for midlife women who are navigating this exhausting intersection of chronic pain and physical tightness and chronic overfunctioning. I've been there myself. So my guess is if you found this episode, you are tired, but also kind of wired. You're exhausted by stiffness and flares that aren't responding to anything, even though you've been an A++ student and you've done all the things that your doctors and specialists have asked you to do. And you're tired of a back or a neck or hips that feel like dangerous to live with. And more than anything, you're tired of the medical system or the fitness world telling you that your body is simply declining because you're in midlife. So we're told that aging means inevitable fragility. This is the message we get about aging from the moment we are conscious enough to take in messages. We believe that slowing down is the only option and our bodies just break down. But as a certified strength and conditioning specialist with years of clinical training in pain neuroscience and hands-on anatomy, this actually makes me irate because our bodies, like all biological entities on this planet, adapt. And yours, unfortunately, has adapted to support this narrative of aging, but also hypervigilance and sensitivity and pain and avoidance. Your subconscious learned these things without your approval. So let me help you understand how this adaptation may have developed because today we're going to dismantle this horrible myth that your body is just breaking down. We'll look at how our lifestyle set us up for this hypervigilant nervous system, especially as women, and how that is affecting your tissues, right? How this nervous system state is affecting your physical body and your behavior. And I'll teach you your very first tool to start dismantling this harmful state. So let's start by talking about who you are. Because to understand your pain, we have to understand how you live. Most of the women I work with are what I call chronic overfunctioners. I'm raising my hand as well. That label applies to me for sure. That's why it's so easy for me to see it. So an overfunctioner is the woman who holds it all together. You manage the schedule, you anticipate everyone else's needs, you say yes when you really need to say no, and you pride yourself on your ability to power through, especially as a woman with chronic pain. So if you get a headache, you take an ibuprofen, you keep going. If your back hurts, you brace yourself, you tighten your core. You finish the chore. If the hip is killing you, you say, oh no, that's okay. I'll do the shopping. So you've spent decades running on a subconscious fuel mixture of high standards, high achievement, and a constant drip of adrenaline and cortisol. These are all really, really important for understanding how this adaptation has occurred and also how to unravel it, how to adapt for something else. So as you may know, in our culture, overfunctioning is synonymous with being a woman. We simply don't know another way to exist. And when we do encounter a woman who's not a chronic overfunctioner, most of us are like, whew, that doesn't look right. Tell me if you haven't done this before. We've judged those women who aren't chronic overfunctioners because we're so used to this model of being a woman. So, maybe you can bring this woman to mind. I have one in mind right now, right? Who does not overfunction. And it feels weird and it feels uncomfortable. Because for each of the roles we play in life, for most of us, there are very high expectations. And these expectations come from those close to us, right? Even maybe acquaintances like me, how I've judged this woman I've recently encountered who is not an overfunctioner, and it's just weird. These expectations come from the media, and they are unquestioned societal norms. This is just what it looks like to be a woman in our culture. The only problem is our bodies, our nervous systems, our brains did not evolve for this. Remember, we're working on hardware that was developed hundreds of thousands of years ago. So eventually, overfunctioning has a physical price, which is now catching up with so many of us in our perimenopausal years, as evidenced by the fact that 60 to 80% of women in these perimenopausal years have joint pain. Why is that? All of this overfunctioning is catching up on us. It's not just because our bodies are breaking down, okay? So your nervous system evolved to protect you. I know it doesn't feel like your body is protecting you right now, but let me make a case for why that is actually what's happening. So again, this hardware developed hundreds of thousands of years ago. And even millions of years ago, right? Or your nervous system evolved to protect you from threat in an environment that could have never conceived of the kinds of stressors that we endure today. So it doesn't know the difference between the stress of a demanding job and family schedule and the stress of being chased by a predator. To your biology, stress is just stress. It's the same hormonal cocktail that creates stress regardless of its source. And this system is making a prediction that you don't have the resources to manage the loads that you are under. That feels like danger, a threat, especially in a society that holds us to such a high standard of function. So, what does a brilliant nervous system do when it senses threat that never resolves? right? Our ancestors had threats that frequently would resolve. The danger passes. That doesn't happen for us. That schedule doesn't get any easier. That nitpicky boss doesn't suddenly wake up and decide not to be such a butthead, right? It never resolves. What does this nervous system do then with this stress that never resolves? It protects you chronically. Maybe it didn't do this in your 20s. Maybe it didn't do it in your 30s, but in midlife, the chickens are coming home to roost. You feel this. That's why it does feel like all of a sudden everything kind of just fell apart all at the same time, right? I'm telling you that this is actually a pretty normal experience. Because for so many reasons, I can't wait to tell you on this new version of the podcast, the Somatic Strength Collective. Like, we have so much to talk about here, and we're just barely scratching the surface in this episode. So how does the nervous system protect a physical body? The same way it would if you had to flee in the jungle at the dawn of man. Muscle tension increases, especially in the long muscles, in the trapezius, in the jaw, and in the pelvic floor. Your physiology gets locked into a state of alarm to keep you vigilant, right? Do you ever feel so jumpy? That's what's going on here. It makes it hard when your nervous system is in the protection mode designed to make you really fast so you can flee from a lion, right? This same protection mode makes it really hard to have a good bowel movement, right? Like, it doesn't make sense that if you're fleeing from a predator, you're going to be like, you know what? I really need to poop. No, that doesn't happen. And that's why it makes it very, very hard for you to stay regulated with regard to your digestive system. And God forbid this hyper protection mode allow you to relax and fall asleep or stay asleep. That wouldn't make sense for your ancestors, right? God forbid this nervous system would allow you to feel embodied enough that you can actually relax or, for gosh sakes, have an orgasm, right? So this sympathetic nervous system state is opposed to all of those experiences that you know you need in midlife to have a good life, right? Like, at this point, if I wake up from a decent night of sleep, I can have a bowel movement. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a great day, right? And yet for many of us, this is simply impossible because of this hormonal cocktail that developed for our ancestors. And yet that's all we got. So eventually, when we're stuck in this protection mode, our sensory receptors get like the volume turned up, right? So if you're in this constant state of threat vigilance, it's going to make sense for your body to get really, really sensitive. So even normal movement starts to feel sensitive. It feels tight. It feels difficult. It even feels dangerous. This is this overfunctioning loop. And it looks like this. You feel stress or fatigue or pain. You ignore it and power through. Your nervous system registers threat and creates tension or pain to slow you down, to get you to protect yourself. And you feel frustrated. Of course you do. You are a doer. So you try to fix the pain. You do all the stretching. You do all the exercise. You do all the midnight Googling. And eventually you've collected a laundry list of daily strategies that are meant to help you, but are mostly just draining your energy and your wallet, and you're really not getting much relief, if any at all. And this aggressive fixing feels like another threat to your nervous system, and this pain cycle locks in. That is how you have adapted to this chronic pain. It's almost like a habit. So you aren't in pain because your joints are deteriorating. You're in pain because your nervous system is working overtime to keep you safe from perceived threats. All of that management that you've been doing, of course you have, right? Because this overfunctioning is all you know, right? But all of that management now is reinforcing the brain's prediction that you really are under threat. It's saying, oh my gosh, I really am broken. And the cycle just perpetuates and it gets worse and worse and worse. So let's talk about how we get out of this loop. How do we step off of the loop? We have to understand a concept from pain neuroscience called hypervigilance. I've already used this term a few times. Let me help you understand it. So think of your nervous system kind of like a security light, okay? In a balanced, regulated state, before you had chronic pain, maybe in your 20s and 30s, the security system is set perfectly. Think of it like a light, right? You know the security light out in front of your house? So if a leaf blows past your window in this pre-hypervigilance state, nothing happens. Right? But if somebody tries to kick the door down, the light goes off, the internal alarms go off. That is a healthy protective system. But when your nervous system is already wired for protection and you're navigating the physiological shifts of midlife, this is really important, where our hormonal landscape is changing and our natural buffering systems for stress are shifting. That security light gets recalibrated. It becomes hypersensitive. Now the security light is so wound up that if a leaf blows past it, the light goes off. And sometimes nothing at all causes that freaking light to go off in the middle of the night. And it's not just going off, it's flashing. And I know this is sounding familiar. If you're listening to this, you're probably like most of my clients. You're like, yes, why is the security light going off? Nothing happened. And your body feels so unreliable. And you get to the point where you've hurt yourself doing something harmless so many times, right? And so now you have this huge list of things that you can't do again. I can't vacuum. I can't unload the dishwasher, chopping vegetables, sitting in my car, not turning my head, right? You have all of these things that you can't do. And it's getting kind of ridiculous, right? And then a week later, your body flares again and you're like, I didn't, like, there is nothing left to hurt me. At this point, you're practically bubble wrapped, but your body keeps setting off the alarm. Hopefully this helps you to understand. This is a problem with the mechanism of the alarm. And so when you go to the doctor and you get another scan or you do another procedure, or you get some more stretches or exercises and it doesn't help, it's because you have been replacing the bulb in that security light. And what I'm telling you is the underlying mechanism within the security light is what is faulty and what needs to be repaired. And that's what we do here. That's what you're learning on this podcast. Because all of this hypersensitivity means that completely normal movements and postures, like sitting at your desk or going for a road trip or unloading the dishwasher or going upstairs, are interpreted by your brain as dangerous. Your brain thinks your tissues are damaged, when in reality, they're safe. This stuff is not enough to hurt your body. It is way too strong and robust for that. That doesn't mean that you're not in pain. You are in pain, period. You are in pain. But tissue damage is neither required nor sufficient to create a pain experience. It's neither required nor sufficient to create a pain experience. And so this pain system of yours is so oversensitive that it's even interpreting these harmless signals as dangerous. And this is very limiting. This is very frustrating. This is really scary, because I know you followed all the rules. You've done all the things that your doctors have asked you to do, same as me. You took all of the pills with all of those horrible side effects, and you did all of those procedures, and you spent $1 gajillion. And the reason it didn't work is because everybody keeps trying to replace that stupid bulb, and no one has addressed the underlying mechanism of protection. But that's changing today. So know this: pain, scientifically speaking, is not an input from the body, right? The bulb doesn't tell the security alarm mechanism, right? The security alarm mechanism tells the bulb to light up. Pain is an output from the brain. It's a protective alarm system. And when you understand this, everything changes. You realize you don't need to fix your back by aggressively stretching it or forcing it into submission. If your doctor says they can't find anything wrong on your scans, which drives me absolutely bonkers, you can actually believe them. They can't find anything wrong in those scans, but that doesn't mean that you should be dismissed. Pain is existing. The thing wrong is that there's pain, regardless of what the scans show, whether it shows damage or not. So pain can happen with or without validation from a radiological report. And comfort and peace and safety can happen even when the MRI shows pathological findings. In either case, the body is adapting. One path of adaptation leads to freedom. That's the path we're taking in this podcast. And the other to limitation. That's the path you've been on so far. So let's consider taking the path to freedom. It's going to require that you turn, you shift. Let's try it right now. Turn your body, right? This is all about somatics. Literally turn toward this path, away from frustration, away from feeling betrayed by the body, away from this question all the time, why is my body failing me? Why is it such an asshole? Toward empathy and curiosity and compassion for yourself. My nervous system is hypervigilant. My nervous system is trying to keep me safe, and it has become a maladaptive program. How can I show my nervous system that I'm actually okay? So let me teach you just a really, really quick practice. Okay, a really quick practice. It's a directed breath practice, and it's going to help you to see the places where your body might be guarding, and you may be surprised about what you find. Okay, so you can do this with your eyes open. You could be sitting in your car. You could even be on the treadmill right now, or you could be, you lay down, or you could sit in a quiet place for this. It's going to go really quick. So I'd like for you to take a nice soft breath and a nice soft exhale. And the next time you breathe into the right front of your belly. And then breathe out of it. Exhale in. Now breathe into the left front of your belly. And exhale it. Breathe into the right front, chest, and ribs. Exhale them. Left front, chest, and ribs. Exhale them. Breathe into the right lower back. And breathe out of it. Notice that you may not be able to feel certain places. That's important information for you. Breathe into the left front back. And here's where the rubber is really meeting the road. You're noticing some different things here. Notice them. Don't try to change them. We're not judging here. These things all have a right to exist in your body right now. Breathe into the right middle upper back. Exhale the right middle upper back. Breathe into the left middle upper back. Exhale it. Breathe into the right side of your neck, right back, right side, right front. Something's coming up probably, right? You're noticing things. Left side, whole left side of your neck. Some areas you can't feel as well. Breathe into the right side of your face, forehead, eye, cheek, jaw, tongue. Exhale it. Breathe into the left side. Exhale it. Breathe into the place where your head meets your neck in the back. Exhale it. Breathe into your scalp, the places where your hair covers. Exhale it. So hopefully you noticed some things. Take a big breath into everything that you just explored and exhale it. In some places, you noticed lots of access. And at the same time, you may have noticed that there was also pain. In some places, you noticed that you had no access. You couldn't really feel it very well, right? In some places, you expected to feel discomfort or even pain or fear. And in some places, you discovered that and you didn't even know it was there. So, this is just a really, really quick introduction to how somatics works, how awareness works in your body, because all of this begins with compassionate awareness. So, if today's episode resonated with you, you might be wondering, okay, like, I get it. Where am I supposed to go from here? Like, this all makes a lot of sense to me. I'm connecting a lot of dots, and I want to take like a first step on this new path. And I would say to you that the first step isn't to keep guessing, right? It isn't to search for another exercise on YouTube or wonder whether you're stretching enough or strengthening enough, right? It's not going to be to Dr. Google, okay? Don't do it. The first step is understanding where your nervous system is right now, because knowledge creates opportunity. So if you know in your gut that you've been looking for the knowledge that will actually get you out of this chronic pain rut, that's exactly why I created my free neural audit. So after working with hundreds of women in midlife, I've learned something really important. Not every woman is starting from the same place, okay? So obviously on this podcast, I cannot customize resources to you, but I can give you a starting point to help you get on that right path. So some women are just beginning to notice the whispers, right? They're listening to this podcast because it's, in the morning, they're just like a little too stiff, or they're starting to hesitate a little bit before doing certain activities and they don't like it. Maybe got that neck or jaw tension and it's like, it's not pain, it's just tense, right? So you might be feeling like your body is more reactive than it was a few years ago. Or maybe you're starting to find yourself in that management trap that I referenced before. You're always doing this like litany of things. You're stretching, you're modifying your workouts, you're foam rolling and icing and researching and trying the next thing someone recommended online or your friend. And you've just amassed this huge library of things. And nothing is really helping. And you can get through your day, but it feels like you're spending more and more and more time managing your body than actually enjoying your life or getting stronger. And the people around you are feeling a little frustrated about this. So that's what I call the management trap. And then there are women whose nervous systems have entered what I call the neural crisis. This is probably most of the women that I see and potentially most of the people listening to this podcast right now, because if you're in this place, pain isn't something you work around anymore. It's starting to influence the decisions you make every day, and you're hesitating before you're making plans because you're worried about how your body will respond. And you've started to say no to things that you used to love. First, it was travel, right? And then it was exercise, and then it was going for walks, and then it was even saying no to like going out with your girlfriends and having lunch because you just can't sit for that long. And maybe you've even caught yourself wondering, like, is this just the reality that I need to accept now? There's a place for you to begin. And so the neural audit is your tool to understand what that starting point is. So it takes about 2 minutes. You can get a professional pain-informed explanation as to why your body may be responding the way it is. And more importantly, I'll show you the movements I'd recommend for you based on your results. Right after you submit those results, I'm going to send you an email with the beginning of a plan. So if you've taken nothing else from this episode, let it be this: healing doesn't begin with doing more. You don't need more Dr. Google. You don't need more Instagram influencer stretches. It begins with understanding your body well enough to stop guessing. Stop guessing. You'll find the link to this neural audit that I just mentioned in the notes below. So take a few minutes to complete it right now. I think you'll come away with a very different perspective on what your body has been trying to tell you. And remember, your body isn't broken. It's been adapting, maladapting to protect you the best way it knows how. We just need to help it adapt to something different. So, with the right guidance, you can absolutely learn a new way forward. If you aren't subscribed yet to the Somatic Strength Collective, do it now. I'll be teaching you, inspiring you, providing you the direction and accountability that you have been missing, and I'll see you next week.